You're listening to the Quint podcast.
With 2.5 more years remaining in PM Modi's second term, the Union Cabinet got a major reshuffle on 7th July. While 12 heavyweights, including Health Minister Dr. Harsh Vardhan, IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal and I&B Minister Prakash Javadekar were left out of the new cabinet, 43 new ministers were sworn in. But not all of them are fresh faces. 7 junior ministers, including Kiren Rijiju, Anurag Thakur, Hardeep Singh Puri and Mansukh Mandaviya got promoted in this rejig. In fact, the crucial portfolio of Health Ministry went to Mandaviya amid a severe criticism of the government's mishandling of the second wave of COVID and vaccination shortages in the country, while the Law Ministry went to Rijiju. Home Minister Amit Shah has taken over additional charge of the new Ministry of Cooperation, while PM Modi will himself be monitoring the Ministry of Science and Technology. And also looking at the new appointments, the Union Cabinet now has 27 ministers who belong to the OBC category, 12 ministers belonging to the scheduled castes, 8 leaders from scheduled tribes, 11 women ministers, and the highest representation ever of the northeastern states in the Council of Ministers. While the opposition says that the reshuffle is an admission of the Modi government's failure, what is the Modi government really aiming at with this move? Are we to view this move as a corrective measure from the government's part, or is it focused on the upcoming elections? To analyze this cabinet expansion, we spoke to senior journalist Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you. And I'm your host, Shorburi. Albeit this overhaul of the Union Cabinet comes at a time when the economy is at its lowest and when there's anger against the government's attempts to muffle any criticism against its COVID management on social media. What does the cabinet reshuffle tell us about the Modi government? Firstly, as I've said, several big names have resigned ahead of the reshuffle and they were left out of the cabinet entirely. What really stands out is that the Health Ministry got a completely new makeover with Dr. Harsh Vardhan being dropped and MOS Ashwini Kumar Chaubey being shifted in the backdrop of an impending third wave. Soon after the new portfolios were announced, senior Congress leaders like P. Chidambaram and Jairam Ramesh noted that Dr. Harsh Vardhan was being made a scapegoat for the Modi government's failures in the pandemic. In a tweet, Mr. Chidambaram wrote that, and I'm quoting his tweet, quote, "There's a lesson for ministers in these resignations. If things go right, the credit will go to the PM. If things go wrong, the minister will be the fall guy." End quote. And speaking of scapegoats, if you look at some of the other resignations, Javadekar and Ravi Shankar Prasad's exit comes as the government finds itself engaged in a tussle with Twitter. The IT rules have also been slammed by critics for trying to undermine user privacy, but both Javadekar and Prasad have all this while exhibited unwavering loyalty towards PM Modi, often hitting back at critics with sharp words. Or if you look at Ramesh Pokhriyal, under whom the new education policy was passed, which is another contentious reform that has faced criticism, he has been dropped, but the NEP hasn't been rolled back yet. But Nirmala Sitharaman, on the other hand, is continuing to head the finance ministry despite the economy faring at its very worst in decades since the onset of the pandemic. So is this cabinet reshuffling coming from poor performance of certain ministries? Are we really expecting to see any kind of turnaround in any of these ministries with the new appointments at all? And if not, what do these resignations really tell us? Senior journalist Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay weighs in.
After the second wave of the pandemic and total ineptitude of the government to handle the crisis, it had become imperative for the government to be seen to be doing something. So heads had to roll. Heads had to roll because the head which was taking all the decisions, which was in charge, primarily right from the time Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister. This has been a highly centralized government, and it continues with a highly centralized system that he ran as the Gujarat Chief Minister from October 2001 onwards. So, for the last 20 years, Mr. Modi has presided over various two different regimes where he has been the unquestioned authority. So if anything goes wrong, others besides him have to pay the cost. So it was the same thing here. There were certain frontline ministries which became very crucial in the handling of the pandemic. Of course, there was health. Of course, there was finance. There was social justice. There was education. And several others. We really have to look at the ministry. So a lot of these, I&B, because the image of the government was very important. Law, because that is also the time when in the pandemic we've used the law ministry to arm twist a lot of criticism of the government. There has also been occasions of clashes with the judiciary on this, especially after the new Chief Justice, Justice Ramana took over. Yeah. So there have been a situation where things were not going right as far as public perception was concerned. So you could easily dispense with those leaders who do not have much public support, that their removal is not going to lead to a public outcry from their supporters. That is how Ravi Shankar Prasad, who's primarily been a Rajya Sabha member of Parliament, you have had Prakash Javadekar, the only person who had some amount of personal following, primarily because of his long standing and also because of his caste identity of being a Dalit, was Thawarchand Gehlot. So he was not shown the door in a dishonorable manner the way these others were done yesterday. But Thawarchand Gehlot was appointed as the Karnataka governor a day prior to this entire exercise. But it was nonetheless, he was being kicked upstairs. Now you create a vacancy of a very crucial social community which the BJP has tried to woo, that is the Dalits. So you had to have a replacement for Mr. Thawarchand Gehlot. And that came in the form of Mr. Virendra Kumar, who had been a Minister of State in the Modi 1.0 government, but was subsequently dropped in 2019 for reasons which were not explained. But he now comes back as a cabinet minister. There is no explanation as to why he was dropped, and there is no explanation ever going to be given or even sought as to why he has been brought back. Obviously, it is not just performance which has actually been the reason behind it. It's basically a political adjustment, which proves that this entire exercise has primarily been not for improving the quality of governance, but more about political balancing and taking care and making, building new ties in different social groups.
With these dozen resignations, save Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, this is pretty much the wrapping up of the NDA that used to be under Atal Bihari Vajpayee. But let's also look closely at some of the new appointments in the cabinet. As I've said, there are some promotions of former junior ministers in the cabinet, along with inclusion of turncoats and allies. The notable promotions were Kiren Rijiju's shift from MOS to Law Minister, Hardeep Singh Puri being made the Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas, and Mansukh Mandaviya, an older loyalist from Modi's state government in Gujarat, being given the Health Ministry. Meenakshi Lekhi, who we've seen rise through the ranks in the party over the years, have also been rewarded as the MOS of the MEA. And as far as new faces are concerned, a few turncoats like former Congress leader Jyotiraditya Scindia and former Shiv Sena Chief Minister from Maharashtra Narayan Rane were also rewarded in the new cabinet, along with Nishit Pramanik, who switched over to the BJP from the TMC. And while former allies Shiv Sena and Shiromani Akali Dal exited from the NDA over political differences earlier in this term, the Janata Dal United, which had not featured in the Union Ministry since the 2019 elections, finally got in. The party's national president RCP Singh was one of the senior JDU leaders who filled up the vacancies left by the former allies. Apna Dal leader Anupriya Patel also got inducted in the cabinet. So what do we make of these promotions and these new additions? What is the government trying to achieve?
It's actually going to be very difficult to talk about the promotions and the new inclusions in one go. Each one has a different pace, and there would be different reasons to actually, look at whether their promotion is warranted or not. The first name which obviously comes to my mind is Anurag Thakur. Yeah. So I really can't understand that what he's really accomplished in the past 6 years that he's been the Minister of State to have been promoted. Likewise, I really do not know that what was the great accomplishment of Kiren Rijiju, however nice a person he may be, to have to have performed in the Sports and Youth Affairs Ministry, to now become the Law Minister. Just look at the kind of predecessors. I have all my differences with Ravi Shankar Prasad, but at least as far as his law is concerned, his basic facts are correct, where we would disagree with his interpretation, but that is a different matter.
Yeah.
But I would never actually doubt his standing within the legal community. You require somebody who would be looked at with respect by the legal community, whether it is judiciary or whether the lawyers. I don't think that this reshuffle in any ways attends to the basic requirement to improve the quality of governance, which is to decentralize very heavily right down to the lowermost, the tire of governance in the country.
Right.
So I really don't think that this reshuffle alters or is going to promise much better governance. It's going to lurch from one crisis to another.
There's also an interesting increase in representation from northeastern states this time. In fact, as I've already mentioned, this is the biggest representation ever of the northeastern region in the Council of Ministers, with 2 union ministers and 3 junior ministers. Former Assam Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal is one of those who got inducted into the cabinet, as was expected, when Himanta Biswa Sarma took over the chief ministerial post from him after the 2021 Assam state elections. This is also the first time when a leader from Tripura has become a union minister. And other than a boost in the northeastern representation, this cabinet now has the biggest SC, ST and OBC representation under Modi's term. If until the reshuffle there were 13 OBC ministers, 6 Dalits, 3 tribals and 32 upper caste leaders, the cabinet now has 27 ministers who belong to the OBC category, 12 ministers belonging to the scheduled castes and 8 leaders from the scheduled tribes. What is also interesting to note is that while former Labour Minister Santosh Gangwar, a prominent OBC leader who had recently quite openly criticised Yogi Adityanath's handling of the COVID crisis in Uttar Pradesh, was dropped from the cabinet, Kaushal Kishore, a Dalit MP from UP who was one of the first ones to vocalise the mismanagement of the second wave of COVID in UP, has been included in the Council of Ministers. Now, we know that more than the COVID crisis, the next big test for the government is going to be the Uttar Pradesh State Assembly polls in 2022. But with this kind of representation, is the government looking beyond the UP polls at the 2024 general elections? Back to Mr. Mukhopadhyay here.
Let me first take your question pertaining to the Northeast first. One point which has been missed by a large number of people who have been commenting since yesterday, primarily because there were multiple areas about which we could comment. I know I was speaking a bit critically about Kiren Rijiju a while ago, but we also have to look at the fact that he comes from Arunachal Pradesh. Right. He is the first ever cabinet minister from Arunachal Pradesh in our central government. Given the kind of tension which has been brewing with China over the last 15 odd months, I think that this is a message to China that Arunachal remains an inviolable part of the Indian territory, completely represented within the highest ranks of the government. So as far as that is concerned, the inclusion of Rijiju in the cabinet, I have absolutely no bones, because it sends a very clear message to China. Where I disagree with is that whether he was the most appropriate person for the law ministry, but I hope that, in any case, think that the understanding is that the centralized style of functioning is going to continue, and Mr. Rijiju is going to be primarily, a proxy law minister, where the bulk of the decisions would be taken by the close associates of Mr. Modi, whether within the cabinet or within the Prime Minister's office, the officials. Similarly, Sarbananda Sonowal, he had to be accommodated for political reasons, because of the change of guard in Assam, Himanta Biswa Sarma was made the chief minister because he had the people on his side. So he actually, if I may use the word, twisted the central leadership into giving him the chief ministerial slot. Right. The BJP is having problems both in Tripura and Manipur, including members in the Council of Ministers from those states, is essentially to send a signal to the people of the state that your requirements and your due adequate representation has been done at the center. It's to sort out the problems which the BJP is having in these two, Tripura and in Manipur.
Mr. Mukhopadhyay also says that the caste representation is mostly coming from states where the BJP is facing internal turmoils.
As far as other states are concerned and the people who are coming in from the OBCs, there is a huge amount of OBC presence in the Union Council of Ministers. In fact, there have never been so many non-upper caste people, almost nearly 50 of them out of 78 or 79 of the members of the Council of Ministers are what we can call non-upper caste or non-dominant communities. That would be a better way of actually putting it. It's obviously that the BJP has tried to do some kind of political fixing in states where elections are due within the next year or so, year or 2 years. Also, it has tried to tend to those states where the BJP is having internal problems. You know, we know that there are a large number of states where there is very serious dissension within the party. There are people protesting against the chief minister or against the state leadership, for instance, in Karnataka. So they have tried to fix this by multiple ways. The biggest inclusion, of course, is the new contingent has come of 7 ministers from Uttar Pradesh, and they are primarily all from the OBCs or from the Dalit community. I think, that what the BJP is trying to do, this is a clear message which can be seen, is that the BJP's social engineering under Yogi Adityanath, which got them the verdict in 2017 and again in 2019, has actually gone for a 6 because of Mr. Yogi Adityanath's heavily Rajput-centric regime, if I can actually use it. That is the people's perception. It may be denied officially by the government, but the general sense of people in Uttar Pradesh is that इस सरकार में राजपूतों का बोलबाला है. Now, to counter that, this move has been made by inducting people from the non-dominating communities in the Union Council of Ministers. I am not very sure that Yogi Adityanath is going to allow them the political space to operate. Some of them, like Pankaj Chaudhary, who's been made a Minister of State for Finance, he was one of the aspirants to become the Chief Minister in 2017, and he also comes from Eastern UP. So I am not very sure that whether it is going to be an uneasy truce between the central leadership and Yogi Adityanath in the months running up to the elections in the state, which is in the first quarter of 2022, or whether they're going to make peace and, smoke the pipe jointly. I am really not able to say at this stage. We have to watch this. Get some indications that if Yogi Adityanath also follows and includes a large number of people from the underprivileged sections of society.
While this may just be a political arithmetic for the government, will there be something for the citizens in this cabinet? If you like listening to this episode, please subscribe to the Big Story playlist for episodic updates. We're live on Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website and check out the podcast section. For any feedback, shoot an email to podcast@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.